We just finished today's Beyond the Gates. Let's jump into it. Just one caveat. If you hear some loud noises in the background, some drilling, I apologize. My neighbors are having some major work done on their house because of some flooding issues. So the guys have been here for a few days. It's kind of loud, but since we're nearing towards the end of the day, hopefully it won't be that bad. But I do apologize if you can hear it in the background. Anyway, we're back at the country club. Day 3 of Dani and Vanessa sitting at that table. Dani's worried about Andre. She's still worried about Andre. She talks about how he told her he did things he wasn't proud of when he was in Europe, but Dani doesn't know everything, but she does know that something is haunting him. Then we pick up over at Heather's hotel room where we left off yesterday's episode with Heather repeating the line, she knew he couldn't stay away. He says he's just there to talk. She says, oh, I remember our pillow talk. And she wants her fun Andre back. Yeah, she wants her fuck toy. She wants her, she just wants the appendage. She doesn't care about the man. Anyway, this story. Every time I see Heather on my screen, I'm not amused by any of it. We head over to the casino. Mona is looking for Randy. She runs into Joey. He tells her that Randy is on an assignment, so he offers up a card game. She says, well, I do have my eye on a new fridge. It plays music and it writes out your grocery list for you. A smart fridge. Pretty cool, Mona. I'm sure the Duprees could get you a pretty good deal. I'm sure that they've got some wholesale deal through the local appliance, PC Richards or somebody. Anyway, he tells her to deal because, he's convinced that she's a card shark. And what we do learn is that Mona actually absolutely knows how to deal. She does some fancy things with those cards, and she suggests that they play 7-card stud. Then we head over to the House of Horrors, also known as Martin and Smitty's house, and Nicole is there because she has a dorm warning present for Tyrell. It's shower slides, which Martin is like, oh, that's a fun gift. And truth be told, it's a useful gift because dorm showers are disgusting and boys are disgusting. So, we don't want Tyrell getting fungus. But yeah, it's not like the funnest of gifts to go off to college with. But she also has a gift for Samantha because she doesn't want Samantha to feel left out. And then Martin goes into this whole thing about how Kat used to get more Christmas gifts because she's the miracle child. And I am just like, my God, today, this man, I swear Martin was the asshole brother who... You know how parents have to slowly introduce foods to babies, to kids, to figure out if they have allergies or not, like peanut allergies? I bet you Martin slipped Kat a peanut butter sandwich. He was like, here, take some of my peanut butter sandwich before they knew if she was allergic to it or not. I bet you Martin gave Kat the car keys and on a key ring and pointed to outlets and was like, oh, go see if it fits in there. That man. Anyway, literally, you're 45 and you're still complaining about a miracle child. Anyway, over at the hospital, this episode just it was one continuously long sigh. Ted and Carlton are at the hospital, and Ted needs Carlton to cover for him for their next peer review meeting because he's going to be meeting Shanice's brothers. Well, Carlton has heard about Shanice's brothers and he hears they're hellions. Now tell me why Shanice is talking to Carlton about her brothers. It's just weird. I just don't understand. So anyway, Ted is confident he can win them over. It's the right step because what they have is real. But Carlton says, well, I won't be mad if you don't ask me to be your best man at your next wedding. Jokingly. Can you guys hear that? This is what I've been dealing with for all week. And at that moment, I wrote a note in capital letters. What's the point of Carlton now? He's no longer a romantic interest for Nicole. The show already has a plastic surgeon. What's the point of keeping this character around? Because what we don't need is another do-gooder. What we don't need is just somebody who is just walking around, another like vanilla, another chocolate vanilla character, another vanilla chocolate character. So Ted responds, it's a meal, not a marriage proposal. And then Carlton lets us know that when they were at undergrad at Tuskegee, Ted was known for his love bombing, which tracks with his red flag ass. Like, it totally tracks. He did it with Nicole. He did it with Leslie. He's doing it with Shanice. Totally tracks. And we also learn, amusingly, that Carlton had a high top fade and he had a lot of women. Ted said it's the quality, not the quantity. But Ted, your quantity is starting to build up, so you might want to retire that old adage. Back over at Martin and Smitty's, Nicole says she wants to put together a dinner party for Tyrell, but she wanted to know what they were thinking, and they were thinking low key because Jessica broke up with him and he's been moping around, although Samantha did get him. They're at the movies right now. So Nicole didn't know that Samantha broke up with Tyrell, which is weird because Carlton had a conversation with her about Tyrell coming to the hospital looking for her or Ted about relationship advice, and that's how he came to the realization that he needed to end the situation that he was in with Nicole wasn't working for him. But Nicole, being the stellar grandmother that she is, never followed up with her grandson and said, hey, I heard you were at the hospital looking for me or your grandfather. Is everything okay? Nothing. All this time, they've been broken up for a couple of weeks now. She's never followed up with her grandson. You're doing great, Nicole. So then they start talking about, going through the empty nest syndrome because both the kids are going to be out of the house soon, and how both kids needed a lot at first when they first came there, but now they're older and more independent, and a lot of that landed on Smitty. So Smitty's really lamenting, not having the kids to focus on now. Back over at the country club, Dani and Vanessa are still talking about Andre. What happened in Europe? What did he do, a sex tape? Was he making bad decisions? Then Dani talks about, how in her modeling days, the parties, the sex, the men, and how she had a lot of rules for Chelsea when Chelsea was modeling. Although I'm not sure Chelsea followed all those rules, because we know Chelsea has done the party drugs. We know Chelsea has had sexual experimentation. Now, we know that she wasn't with women then, but we know when we met her, she wasn't a virgin. So, like Chelsea was doing all the things. Dani just doesn't know. She might want to have a conversation with her. But, they talk about how Andre was on his own after his parents died. So what did he do in Europe as a jet-setting playboy? And, Dani, talks about how when Andre gave his word, he means it. And Vanessa brings up, she poses the question, well, what if Andre is having an affair? And Dani says, well, we'll deal with it. And Vanessa asks if Dani will confess to sleeping with Bill on the elevator. Now, the easiest way for Dani to go, if it was an affair, would be to just be like, all good. We said we were going to be open in the beginning, and as long as we were honest with each other, it was all good. I know that we eventually decided that we were only committed to each other, but slip-ups, like, if it's a one-time slip-up, I'm good with it, and not confess, and she doesn't confess her her tryst with Bill, because that would just be the easy way out for Dani. But then she would still be living with all that guilt. So maybe she does confess. Now, if Dani hadn't had sex with Bill, then I would say that I wouldn't want her to forgive Andre for an affair if it was an affair, because that would just be a pattern for Dani at this point of forgiving cheating husbands, and we want better for her than that. Back at Heather's hotel, Andre wants to know how She became friends with Dani. She says, oh, it was fate and through Vanessa, blah, blah, blah. And they have a lot in common. But Dani doesn't realize just how much we have in common. Ha, ha, ha. And Heather can't stop thinking about their kiss. And she continues to sexualize him because he's just a walking appendage for her. She just wants the D. Back at the casino, Joey and Mona are playing cards. She's winning. He asks how she went from holy to high roller. And then, he says she cashes out like she just finished Bible story. I don't know. Bible study, I guess. I don't know. And then she talks about how bingo was her gateway game. And then she studied blackjack and then poker. And then she asked if he was letting her win. He was not amused by that. He took offense. She said, maybe it was his backdoor way to absolve his sins. And he says he only plays to win. This is just compelling stuff, guys. I mean, edge of your seat. Dani and Vanessa continue talking. Dani isn't sure that Andre is cheating. She can spot it because of all her years with Bill. But then she talks about how Andre was day drinking, so it's more like he's a tortured soul. And maybe he misses living with reckless abandon. Maybe being tied down just isn't for him, and that's what is, eating at him. Back with Heather and Andre, she offers him a drink. He turns it down. And then, they're reminiscing. It's, oh God. She wants one night, not a lifetime commitment. Like, we're really doing this, huh? And then she thinks he's afraid that he'll never leave her if they're together again. Oh, God. He won't do anything to hurt her, but he's keeping secrets. He won't do anything to hurt Dani, but he's keeping secrets from Dani. It's a lot of talking, guys. Just this episode is it's all talking. Nobody's actually doing anything, and I want to talk about that when I get to the end. I want to get through the rest of this episode, though. Andre says, you and me, it's never going to happen. She says she's going to find someone else to play with tonight. He says it's never going to happen. She says, we'll see. I think she used that line again today. What I don't understand, if Heather's this big bad villain that we're supposed to believe she is, why isn't she using Dani as leverage against Andre? Like, why isn't she saying, I will tell your wife everything that I know about you. I mean, whatever there is to know. Or I will hurt your wife. It's Dani's safety. You wouldn't want Dani to get into that beautiful sports car of hers and realize that the brakes aren't working as she's making a sharp curve. Like, I just don't understand what we're doing here. I honestly today just was like, these people just sit around talking. They don't do anything. There's no action. These are not active characters. They're not taking action. They just are sitting and having conversations. And most of the conversations are conversations that we've listened to them have before. Back over at Smitty and Martin's. Kyle is taking her to a Nationals game. I wonder if those are the same tickets that Martin gave Kyle for him and Noah. And then they talk about how Kyle is the chosen one and she's happy and blah, blah, blah. Ted and Andre. Andre's over at the hospital now talking to Ted. Ted talked to Bill. While there's no love lost, Bill was there for him. And Andre talks about how he's going to focus on his wife and avoid Bill. But Andre is there about Leslie. So then we cut to Dani and Vanessa again, and Heather calls, and she wants the three of them to get together for drinks, but Vanessa can't because she's meeting with the interior designer to redecorate her bedroom/card room, and Dani has plans with Andre, which makes Heather, she's like, okay, next time. She hangs up the phone and she throws a knick-knack against the wall because that's villainous, guys. Ooh, are we scared yet? Are we scared of Heather? Does Heather have us on the edge of our seats because she threw a tacky knick-knack against the wall in frustration? Back over at the hospital with Ted and Andre. Andre questions Ted about what he did with Leslie, why he did what he did. He knows why he did what he did, but how did Ted live with it during and after? How did he live with the affair during and after? And Ted says, he thought that Bill chasing Dana out of town would have helped, and made it easier to carry. But you don't learn to live with it. It lives with you. And he understands that he failed Nicole. And, Ted is worried about Andre, but Andre says he can handle it and whatever's going on with him. And Ted says that's what he told himself about Dana. So anyway, Dani and Vanessa are still talking. They're talking about, Vanessa has questions about Heather. Joey's concerns are starting to get to Vanessa. Vanessa tells Dani to try not to get too enamored by Heather, because Dani's like, I thought you liked her. But, Vanessa's like, well, maybe Joey's right. Their interior decorator interrupts them. Dani leaves. This is the interior designer who's also working on Leslie's house. But Vanessa offers him a big retainer plus bonus if he can finish in a week. We're getting a new set, guys. And, she tells him that he'll want to keep her and Joey happy. Back at the casino, Joey, Mona are there. Randy comes in. She's won a couple of grand. She came by to see Randy. He hasn't been to church. He's been busy. The choir needs a strong tenor for a regional choir competition. He's like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm kind of busy. Joey's like, oh, no, go do it. Go audition. Guys, this is what we spent an hour doing today, right? This is what this is what we spent an hour doing today. Mobsters auditioning for choir competitions. Nicole is at the hospital. She runs into Ted and Andre at the elevator. She says hi to Andre, and Andre ignores her and gets on the elevator and leaves. Before that, she was texting with Kyle about the baseball game, whatever. Ted tells Nicole he owes her an apology. When she was going through the hormone shots and the appointments, Nicole was fighting for their family and he deserted her. He gave another woman parts of him that belonged to Nicole. She's like, we've been over all this. And he said, no, I realized I never said that I failed you as a husband and as a man, and I apologize. He'll never stop apologizing. You deserve so much better. And then they hug. Because why have two exes who just hate each other and can't get over it and just want to destroy, why can't Nicole just want to use her power as a Dupree to destroy Ted? Anyway, Joey and Vanessa are alone now. She saw Randy and Mona together, which she thought was an odd pairing. Joey thinks there's a spark there. Then Vanessa starts talking about Randy and Haley cheating, and Joey's like, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard about that. And then she starts getting into the gossip of the potential affair. Joey, looks uninterested, so she's like, oh, okay, I know you don't want to hear about the gossip. And then he's like, well, if you're going to redecorate this room, then we need to give this card table one last spin. So they go to have sex on the card table. Dani and Andre are at home together. Dani knows that this isn't about Bill. She talks about how he was starting to open up about what happened in Europe, but they got interrupted by Chelsea. She wants to know what happened. Heather is at Uptown drinking at the bar. Carlton is there. He needs a reason to loosen his tie. She invites him to join her. They have some banter. He licks the rim of her glass. They both desperately need a distraction. They're doing all the dirty flirting. She tells him to proceed with caution. She's been known to bite. He says he'll take his chances. This is unexpected. Because I just asked why is Carlton still in the show, so this is unexpected. What would have been a twist is if Carlton and Vanessa and Heather actually knew each other, and he was one of her ins in the hospital for the red market. But of course, we can't do that. And of course, Heather is just replacing one black penis for another. Martin Richardson, who is a Dupree, has no story other than empty nest syndrome. But we're giving Carlton and Heather, two recurring characters, all this airtime. And if she couldn't have her desired black man in Andre, she'll just go replace the black D with another one. Y'all are wild over at Beyond the Gates. And that is not a compliment. Martin and Smitty wakes up on the sofa. They were supposed to be napping because they're oh so interesting as a couple. Martin is working. Smitty is still having empty nest syndrome. Martin talks about how Smitty could have had a thriving career as a journalist, but he stayed home and raised the kids. Smitty talks about how Martin was amazing but demanding, and he set a standard for everyone. And then, instead of taking a nap, they decide to have sex. But we don't get to see love scenes anymore. So we don't see him with Chelsea and Madison. We don't see him with Martin and Smitty. No gay love. You could just have it. They can be on the screen, but God forbid we see them actually on a bed together, because Irma and Iowa will have a fit. And whatever will we do, stop writing for Irma and Iowa. She's irrelevant. So Heather and Carlton are touching each other. They're hot for each other. He invites her to his place. She doesn't go to second locations with strangers. That's actually a smart thing. That's a smart rule. She invites him to her place, but she asks if he's married. He says no. She says she's not married. He pays the bill. Dani and Andre, things have been off. It's about what happened in Europe. He wants to protect her. She says, I survived Bill. He did things he's not proud of. And then he gets a text from unknown Heather that says TikTok, and we fade to black, the end. Guys, listen. I understand that the show has to produce hundreds of episodes a year, and not every episode is going to be action-packed and, people actually doing stuff. The only person we actually have doing anything is Haley. At least we see her pulling poison from her breasts and poisoning Bill. But nobody is actually doing anything on the show. We just see them sitting around talking, a lot of times having the same conversation. Anita and Vernon talking about Bill and Dani. We haven't heard, I guess, I don't know, Naomi and the BRCA gene thing must, be, I guess we're not concerned about that anymore and what she's going to do. What's going on with Andre? Dani and Bill on the elevator. But nothing happens. There's no forward movement, and there's no characters who make things happen. I was thinking about year one of Beyond the Gates. Week one. As much as I don't like that Leslie tried to kill Laura twice, she was at least a doer. She was at least a woman of action at that point, where she was like, I want this. Again, what does the character want? What does the character think they want? What does the character do to get it? We got that in Leslie. Even with Dani in week one, what does the character want? She, she wants revenge. She wants validation. She wants her husband back. What does she do it? What does she do? She punches Haley. She takes a golf club to Bill's desk. She goes to Bill's hotel room and asks him not to marry Haley, to give them another chance. And then when he humiliates her, she brings a gun to the wedding, disrupts the wedding, and shoots a vase. Doers. We had some doers in the first week of the show. What happened? And then even Leslie, she had a plan, and then she disrupted the anniversary party. But now we're just getting a bunch of people chit-chatting. And that does not make compelling drama. And if it happened 2 days, 3 days, okay, you get it, because they're setting up story, and you got to play some beats, and then, you're building the scenes, and the scenes are building the story, and we're getting character action. We're not getting the character action part of it. It's just like a bunch of people talking, and then you guys are going to throw us a cotillion or a tornado or a Winterfest, and then even those events don't drive long-term story. So I am just confused as to what we're doing here. I don't get it, and it really, like, thank God they got a 2-year renewal. Only because if this was the way it was going to go in year 2, it's like, I don't know that I would be advocating for year 3 just from a storytelling standpoint. And the thing is that I want to love this show. I want to love it. I still believe in it. I believe in the potential of it. This is a groundbreaking show. Break some ground. Like, let's stop being timid and tell some stories. And I get that you didn't want to be like all the other shows. Like Tamara said, this isn't your grandmother's soap opera in the beginning. I totally get it, because doing your grandmother's soap opera didn't work well for All My Children, One Life to Live, Guiding Light, As the World Turns, Generations, Passions, even though Passions was kind of an outlier there, Port Charles. Like, yeah, it didn't, even Night Shift, when SoapNet did Night Shift, like being your grandmother's soap opera did not work out well for a lot of soaps. So I understand wanting to try to turn the genre on its ear a little bit, but this isn't turning it on its ear. It's just falling flat on its back. And between, the white characters getting the soapier stories and the black characters just kind of sitting around chit-chatting, I'm not exactly sure what the goal is. Because, like, we can watch Florida Evans in reruns of Good Times. Like, I just am not, like, and I don't mean, and the thing is like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be snarky. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm not trying to be disparaging, because I know a lot of people put a lot of work and time into making this show. I want it to be great. I want it to be compelling. And I personally, again, Ed Talks TV I am not getting compelling storytelling where I'm on the edge of my seat wondering what's going to happen tomorrow, wondering on Friday night what's going to happen on Monday. And I hope that this is just a blip, and, come fall, we're going to get some big stories, because Sheila Duckworth said the rest of the year is insane. I haven't gotten insane. I got a beautiful cotillion. I got an incredibly produced tornado. And after that, it's been downhill. Now, the argument will be the ratings are holding up, so whatever they're doing is working. And it's a valid argument to make. I don't know that it's a long-term argument, though. So, anyway, because if I'm not the only person saying this. I'm looking at my social media. I'm looking at not just here on TikTok, but other places, and I'm seeing the same things. Like, I'm not instigating the conversation. I'm hearing this from other people who are viewing, and they're not all black people either. So I'm just concerned. Like, I want this show to be extraordinary. And a lot of us came into Beyond the Gates thinking that this show was going to be the turning point for the genre. And the fact that it has a majority black cast but we're not getting the compelling storytelling that these actors, these characters, and us as viewers deserve. I will see you guys later.